everybody. That was an abrupt stop, and I'm kind of sorry. So, how are you? Welcome to Guitar Hunter Live, episode 142. That's ridiculous to me. That's crazy that we've done that many of these. This started, but some of you were even here for the very first one. But yeah, this was a thing that happened during 2020. I believe that's when we started this thing. And man, I'm glad that we're doing it. So I took last week off, had some stuff going on, and yeah, mostly I got sick and I couldn't shake it, and I'm still not 100%, but I'm getting there. So anyway, man, yeah, so today's just going to be a free-form Q&A. Let me know how the audio sounds. I am using a ribbon mic today, which should sound excellent and very good. So yeah. All right, let's get into it. Hello from East Tennessee. Heyo. I like East Tennessee. I'm glad you're here. Mr. Pat Riley is here. Pat, happy Friday, everybody. Good. I'm glad you're here. And, yep, let's see. Jeremy, what are the hardest guitars you've had to sell? What do you mean hardest? I'll answer this question. My brain takes it two ways. What's the hardest guitar I've had to sell emotionally? My 61 J50. That was a guitar I did not want to sell. It was a guitar that was kind of a gift from a mentor of mine. It had been my guitar. I played hundreds of shows on it, and I sold it when life was hard, and, you know, I was in a full commission sales job and had two little babies, and man, that was hard. Now, the other way to answer that question is, what's the hardest guitar to sell? What's a guitar I could not give away? I had an Epiphone Black Beauty, my first electric guitar, that was really hard to sell. And my original Guild D40 was pretty hard to sell. It took me almost a year to sell that one because it was just so rough, so bad. It's also hard when you get a guitar. There are guitars that are hard to sell, and then there are especially when it's like, well, I don't really want to sell it. That's when those things really get hooked together. But anyway, Darcel is here. Hello, glad you're here. Upstate New York. Let's see. I like my guitar. I like my hard rock, heavy metal, but I have trouble finding the right sound. And good afternoon, by the way. Hey, guitar man. Glad you're here. Feel better. Hi from Philly, Daniel. Glad you're back. Daniel was in China for a couple weeks, so I'm glad you're back, man. Greetings from Alma Guitars in the Philippines. That's awesome. That is so cool that you are watching from all around the world. Never been to the Philippines. I'd be up for going. Hey there, when are you going to review the Natasha Bamboo Acoustic? I've never done like a proper review on it. I've talked about it a ton. It's been in a bunch of videos, but I've never done a dedicated Natasha Guitars video. Yeah. What's the most boring sounding acoustic guitar, and why is it a Taylor? I don't think Taylors are boring. I think Seagulls are boring. I think Seagulls are mind-numbingly boring, and they're hard to play, and they have bad neck shapes. Can't get into it. Godin right behind there. So several of the big Canadian guitar brands, I think, are just so soul-suckingly boring. Matthew Beckner is here. Greetings from Iowa. Hello. Why the hate towards electrics? Oh, interesting. I don't hate electric guitars. That's a funny. I made a video a few weeks ago called "Acoustic Guitars Are Better," because they are. In themselves, they are better because they are. There are a whole bunch of reasons why. But I love electric guitars. I own a lot of electric guitars. I think I own 7 or 8 electric guitars right now. I've just really pared down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I own 9 or so right now. I just bought a new one. I haven't showed anyone this. Or I haven't told the internet that I bought it. So do I really own a guitar if I don't tell the internet that I own it? I bought an Eastman electric guitar. We were in it really well, so I was able to get a really good deal from Hometown Music. And this is the T486, and so this is in the green burst, is what they call this, or gold burst, I don't know. But it's got the Bigsby, and it's just a beautiful thing. And so I've always wanted a 330 kind of thing with P90s. And this has the Fat Cats. Can't say it with the microphone there. Okay. It is my ambition. It's my ambition to not be in YouTube mode in this video and to just hang out today. So, yeah. Vince. Hey, Vince. Glad you're here, man. just saw Vince a couple minutes ago. He was coming into the guitar shop as I left to come and do this. But yeah, I want to just hang out and answer questions. I've got some funny questions kind of queued up. Terry Mattingly, hello from the Tennessee Hills. What a place. I love Tennessee. I love Virginia more. I just think that where I live in Virginia is the most beautiful place I've ever been. And it's funny because I grew up here and didn't think that, and then I moved away for a long time. Then you come back and visit and you're like, oh my gosh. Just the views you get to see. Just taking kids to school or going to the grocery store. It's amazing. So, yep. Yeah, Morgan, you get it. Morgan, Pontius is here asking the real questions. I don't hate electric guitars. I quite love acoustic guitar or electric guitars, but it's hard for me because my biggest issue is that they're just kind of diluted in like the essence of what they are. There's so much about what makes their sound that you can change, that you could, anyway. Meanwhile, acoustic guitars are way worse in one way. Like if an acoustic guitar doesn't sound the way you like it, there is not much you can do to change it. So, yeah. Acoustics for life. Waiting on your Pizzecki custom to come out from UPS today. In fact, that's awesome. What an exciting day. Good afternoon, old friend. Average value of a 1970 Martin D28 with a recent neck set and fret leveling. Probably right around 3. People are going to always ask a lot more than that. All those 70s, D28s and D35s and even 42s, 41s, sorry. People are asking big bucks, but they're asking 4. They're just not there yet. I don't think they will be for a while. But I think they're around 3. That's retail. Like, I wouldn't pay over $2,000 for one. Do you think the Recording King Dirty 30s mandolins have the same vibes as the guitar? Mandolins are much harder to make. They're just more complicated. And the corners that have to be cut to get a mandolin under $500. But I would hope the thinner finish would leave some warmth to their tone. So, yeah, I haven't played. I don't remember the last time I played a Dirty 30s. For me, like the Eastman, the 305 is such a, that's a $600 mandolin, but it's so good. Gold tone is okay in that price range. No, I haven't played any of the gold tones that really blow my socks off yet. I have a George Gruen spec HD28 with an Addy top and bracing, among other things, but I'm crazy to consider something else high-end like a Collings. I'm a working player. George knows how to spec guitars, and he's had such a long-standing relationship with Martin that they do really well. The line of sinkers that they did are great, but yeah, I don't think you're crazy to consider something else high end. Collings makes exceptional guitars, so I wouldn't stress that. It depends on which one works best for you and sounds best and fits in your hands and makes you want to keep playing and play more and makes you feel like you can play those long shows. So it's lots of liberty there. Yeah. Let's see. What channel is best for effects pedals? Clean or overdrive or both? There's a bunch of really good channels for effects. JHS is still kind of king of being informative, being funny, being helpful. They are bad for... I'm mostly joking. But they cause gear lust. They cause people to feel like, oh gosh, I missed it. I have to sell all of my stuff. So just beware of the hype. And that's pedals in general. The other number one channel that you should be following is Mythos Effects, Mythos Pedals. Zach is just such a good dude, and they have such a fun channel. Really, Zach is encyclopedic in his knowledge of guitars. And he's really, really just a humble man. So, yeah. Let's see. Did Sister Guitar to Your Model 1 by Ben ever sell? I'm not sure. It might still be at at Drummond's Drum in Warrenton, Virginia. But mine is over here. I freaking love that guitar. It is the best sounding acoustic guitar I own. I will own lots of other guitars, but that one is the best. Let me grab it. I want to talk about this one. That was one of the, I put that in the thumbnail because I hoped someone would want to talk about it. If you don't remember, this is my Padet Model 1 from the impossibly talented Ben Paget. Hang on. I'm going to move this microphone. Can I do this? Can you still hear me if I'm talking? Tighten you, and you stay still. All right, how does that sound? All right, let me... I just love this guitar and think it sounds so good. So, yep. So, yeah. So this is the Padet Model 1. This is the second, serial number 2. Engelmann Spruce, Honduran Mahogany back and sides, ebony bridge, ebony fingerboard. Daniel. Okay, yeah. Let me come back to this. Daniel says that my comments on Palfero are ridiculous. Well, who cares? I don't care. I think that electric guitar players are mostly weenies. I think people feel like there are fashionable opinions. Now, I will say there is some truth to Palfero not being a great fingerboard material. But to say that fretboards are tonewood, I think is obnoxious. Yeah, it's crazy. But, so that one came in and had super brown Palfero on the fingerboard. And I will say it does feel like chalky or weird. I don't think you feel it when you're playing. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. All right. Patty Paystub says, hey, Jeremy, what would you say the most has the most bottom end and bass? An HG28 scallop bracing or a D35 non-scallop bracing? I think which guitar is at risk of sounding thumpy? I would say a D35. D35 with, I think it's the thinner bracing. And because D35s are 1/4 inch braced and HG28s are 3/8, and then they're scalloped. So you still have technically more brace cut down than just less brace not cut down. So yeah, an HG28 it's hard to get it to ever be like thumpy unless you really kill the strings. Listen to a lot of Tyler Childers' old stuff. That HG28V that he plays often sounds thumpy because he just has like torched dead strings on it. Heyo, Sam Vecchio's here. Sam says, hope all's well. New Gear Day. Got a Cole Clark Angel 2 with a redwood top and blackwood back and sides. The PG3 pickup system is mind-blowing. That's exciting. Cole Clark, they've been working so hard for so long to be in the guitar space. Uh-oh, I touched things. Why did I touch things? Hold on. There it is. Sorry. Oh. That's why it was going down. Okay, there we go. Have y'all played the Yamaha LL series? I have. We've had an LL16 and a 6, and they've all been really good so far in the shop. Yamaha, I really like their guitars. I really don't like their naming vernacular because it's so complicated and so hard to remember. But yeah. Honest thoughts on Yamaha, vintage and modern. Do you own any? Honest thoughts on Yamaha. They still have this is the best they've ever been, but they have such a burden to get over. as far as the playability of their vintage guitars. Their tone is remarkable, and they all have played so hard. But they have a really faithful audience that, you know, that crew that says, my grandpa had a red label, and it's better than any Martin you've ever heard. And so people really believe that they are better guitars tonally, but it's hard for them to admit that they play hard and that they're not worth enough to do a neck reset. We just did a Yamaha event at the shop a couple weeks ago, and we had a couple people who have great guitars, but yeah, they just have such a big thing. Such a big thing to overcome. Modern ones are good. I really like, we just had an LL6 and we have the FX3. FX3 hot take. FX3 and the FX5, made in China, made in Indonesia, same pickup system. They look identical. They're $1,000 different in price, or twice the price. I cannot, in good conscience, say that made in Japan is $1,000 better than the Chinese ones. The FX3 sounds so good, and it's a really remarkable sounding guitar. I mean, that's the thing, is they sound the same, and they're so different in price. So overall, I think Yamaha is trying. This is the hardest they've ever tried. I think the Pacificas are they feel generic to me. I don't know, Reverend has somehow been able to do that better. Pacificas are still the same thing they've been doing forever. Like, it's an HSS with a mid-push and coil taps and a different kind of tremolo and a cool thing and a weird headstock. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on Yamahas. I've owned a handful. 3, maybe, 2 or 3. Had an FG 180, had a 110, had an FJ 70. Sorry. You should visit a classical luthier someday. I have tried. I've tried to coordinate a trip a couple times, and it just didn't work out. Have you had any chance to play Reverend Guitars, and what are your thoughts? I was just talking about them. Reverend Guitars are good. They're like kind of hyper parts casters. I think they're really cool. Yeah, I wish they did a couple things a little different, but they're incredibly fun and specky. I think they've done a really good job to get more people interested in P90s. P90s are having a great moment the last couple of years, so for sure. You mean to say you don't have a $2,000 Bad Monkey overdrive? No, I don't. Yeah. Thoughts on the PreWar Guitar Company? I have a sticker for PreWar right here on my... Oh, you can't see it. I really respect PreWar, what they're doing. They make incredible replica kind of guitars. I think they are to acoustic guitars what Nash is to electric guitars. Look great, and they do everything great and believable and spot on except the headstocks. I don't know. That's my one, like, the one thing I find confusing or just I'm not into with PreWar guitars. Incredible quality. But I think they also want you to believe that they've got some secrets, which they probably do. But yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of there's not a whole lot that's that crazy to me on PreWars. There's not much secret sauce if you're only building guitars the way they did like before 1939. I know the war. Gosh, okay, that's the thing I'm so tired of. Anytime someone's like, when I say pre-war guitars before 1939, and people are like, the World War II was already going for a couple of years before 1939. Like, I know, I get that. I'm not even saying 1941 or that maybe that's what it is. When I say 41 and they say it started in 39, like, I get it, and I don't care because I'm not talking about the war as much as I'm talking about guitars. And so guitars changed a lot. By 40 and 41, things really, really changed. So, yes. I feel like everyone's asking about favorite, best sounding, but what's your least favorite or worst sounding acoustic guitar you've owned or do currently? That's a great question. That's the right question to ask. This is my worst, and I don't mean to. I talked about this. This is just out from a couple weeks in the other show. This is a guitar made by Scar My Guitar, and it's just everything is bad about this guitar. not picking on it. That's a guitar I'm hanging on to because somebody made it for me. Wow! This chair tried to murder me. It's because I'm up too high. But yeah, I that's an interesting question. I do kind of hang on to guitars that I don't like. That's not true. Very rarely. But as I think through, pretty much all my guitars are in here, except my Martin Authentic is in the house. My Bourgeois octave mandolin and my Northfield mandolin are in the house. So other than that, worst sounding guitar. Probably, I've got a Fender Highway acoustic, you can see it back there. That one's funny. I like it. It's a weird, like, I like it because it's goofy and weird and, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I always think about that too. And maybe that's just the clickbaity part of myself. Regarding the Gibson J45s made from 2000 to present, which years do you think sound the best? They've all been really good. There have only been a couple. I think it is a lazy opinion to say that Gibson has bad quality assurance. It's just a popular opinion. It's not found in particular reality. Now, with that said, Gibson does have more issues, but Gibson makes more difficult guitars. Gibson and Martin are pretty close, but Gibson guitars are still harder to make because they'll do color finishes and they'll do different kinds of bridges. And with that said, a friend of mine in town just showed up a couple weeks ago and he had one of the new wine red 60s Gibson J45s, and I noticed the bridge lifting up, so that bums me out. Bummed him out. It was hard, put a damper on our relationship for me to point out that it had happened. But I owned the most recent one I've owned is 2014 and then a 2017 True Vintage. Both were great. Not what I said, lol. Not your comments. The comments of people responding to you saying they'll unsubscribe. Wait, what did I miss? I don't know. I don't consider myself a wood snob, but I'm really not a fan of Palfero, of the feel of Palfero. I get that. Yeah. What I don't know. I think maybe you just have to like over oil Palfero. Maybe that's one thought. Morgan's a great example. Isn't a Palfero fan, but he didn't subscribe because of your Meteora video. Hey, good. I don't know. I can talk about this. I've been super burned out on YouTube the last little bit. So that's a big part of yes, I was sick last week, but I also just could not bring myself. I just needed a break. And I took a break. I took YouTube Studio off my phone. And I've not looked at metrics. I've not looked at analytics. I've not looked at comments. Maybe just like a couple times here and there on my phone. But it's been a good break. I feel really good. Because the last video I filmed, I could tell, I was like, oh, this is me in like fight or flight mode. Like I'm fighting. I'm like upset. I'm disappointed. All this stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But YouTube is hard to do over long stretches, especially for like how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself and what you let people say about you. So anyway, yeah. Yeah. So hopefully you guys can get, let's see. Guys, you can check out our acoustic guitars. Mostly we use local sustainable woods to the Philippines and coconut shell fingerboots. How cool. Please, let's talk. I would love to see one of these guitars. I think the bamboo guitar, it sounds so good for what it is. Enjoying a GHL and a nice St. Louis snow day. STL. I know you told me so many times, Patrick. I'm sorry. With your almost 6-year-old, holy cool. Tell Stella that girls can rock. They can rock on guitar just as hard as boys. She always rocks a black Les Paul Mini. That's so good. Let's see. Frank Ruiz, you're an actor. Good work. All right, man. Hey, Jeremy, any recommendations on a parlor or a double O under $1,000? Considering trading my Washburn Dreadnought. I teach kids songwriting weekly, and it's getting rough to carry around. I would buy an Eastman E1 SS. They're LOO. So E1 SS. It's a small LOO shape with a tiny little Sunburst. It's beautiful and great. They sell for $5.79 at full retail. You can usually find them on sale. That would be my number one for sure. Recording King Dirty 30s. I've heard several giggers use it effectively. They're good. That's a good, like, even more affordable. If you're going from Washburn, I bet your Washburn's $200, $300. That would be a good lateral move into a Recording King if you could double that and step up into an all solid wood guitar, because the Eastman comes with a gig bag and it's a good guitar. Oh yes, the Padet sounds gorgeous. Thank you, I love it. Hello from Pittsburgh. Have you ever owned a Walnut acoustic guitar? What did you think of it? I've owned a couple Walnut guitars and I think they're excellent. Walnut is very bright. It's punchy and it's bright, so it's clear. The downside is it can be aggressive, it can be too chimey, it can be percussive in an unhelpful way. So most recently I owned a Gibson G45. That was fine. It was okay. Behind that, what else have I owned that was Walnut? I owned a Loudon. No, it was a Sheeran by Loudon that was shrill, harsh, percussive, aggressive. That was not a good one. The best one I've ever owned, I didn't own this, but I played it a lot, was a Martin OM Claro Walnut, or an OMC Claro Walnut. That was remarkably warm and full and chimey and bassy. So they can be really good. I think the problem is I don't think you can just, we're building a guitar and the wood on the outside, we're using this versus this, and all the bracing and all of the considerations and the thickness of that tone wood stays the same, because that's what gets you in trouble. Like, what works for mahogany doesn't work for walnut or cherry. So, yeah, good question. Thoughts on the Martin Inception? Cool guitar. It's a cool guitar. It's very expensive for what it is. And they discontinued the SWD GT. I think trying to stay in the sustainable world, I think they did a full rebrand. They canceled the one that, to me, the Martin Sustainable Wood series was the best sounding thing that they'd done. I think they just didn't know how to hype it. Yeah. Well, let's see. What's the best advice you can give for buying vintage gear? These are the questions I want to be asked. Sam, thank you, Sam. Vintage guitars have problems. That's the best advice. Don't expect them to feel and play and sound like a new guitar. Don't come in and compare them to a reissue. Don't compare them to a new guitar. They're going to have buzzy frets, and they're going to have wonky switches and crackly stuff. You can fix a lot of those problems, but they are going to have those problems. Other advice, don't be picky. I tell my kids all the time, being picky ruins your life. Maybe that's just me, like, third kid coming out here. I did not get to pick what soda I had, or what part of the sandwich I got, or how many french fries I got, just because I had, 3 other brothers. So, yeah, that's one of them. In your Meteora video, people kept saying they would unsubscribe. Okay, got it. That's funny. I haven't read any of those comments, which is why I feel so much better about myself right now. Jeremy, I've been experiencing different picks on acoustic. It's amazing how much a different pick will affect your tone. Absolutely. Even more than strings do. Your opinion. I agree. I think that the pick you use matters so much. Right now, I think the best pick money can buy are the Prime Tone 3-way, the 3-sided triangles like this. This is the 1.5. The other pick I use all the time is a blue chip, but this blue chip is like, what, $25-$30? Maybe more than that, maybe 35. But so to me, the Prime Tone these are like $4 a piece. And I really like these picks. They sound warm, they sound punchy, they're much more full. And yeah, so I pretty much use this on everything these days. Occasionally I go back to like Dunlop's, like the Tortex picks. I like those a lot. Can pickguard scratches be polished, buffed out? Or are they always part of our lives? I misread that, but I got the gist. They can be polished and buffed out for the most part, but that's kind of the point, is that, well, yeah, it is to guard from pick scratches, but sometimes you get wild ones that go a little too far off. Yeah. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if they really bother you, you can fix them. But I think the first couple scratches and dings and chips are the hardest, and then after that, it somewhere along the way gets mojo. And it's not like, oh, that one scratch. It's a bunch of scratches, and you've played this guitar and you've used it. So I think guitars they're gonna show their wear pretty quickly. Is there really that much difference between African mahogany and Honduran mahogany in tone? Probably not in tone. They look very different, and they are quite different genetically. They're not even in the same species. I don't think African mahogany isn't actually mahogany. I don't know that for sure. Ben Paget has said that, and Tom Dahlia has said that. Or Tom Dahlia has said that. Yeah. Let's see. I'm skipping through some questions here. Tex is here. Howard. Hello. Favorite top for an acoustic? I'm a Sitka Spruce guy. Spruce is hard to beat. The only spruce I don't like is Lutz. Lutz can be just a little dull sounding, or just doesn't resonate as much. Martin really should not have killed their Cherry OME. It was a fantastic guitar for the money. I like the sound of my Sycamore D16 Americana, toned down a bit with nickel bronze. Yep. Sycamore is a great tone wood for back and sides too. Very similar to mahogany. It's strange for a top. Like my Showalter is a Sycamore top, and it just doesn't ring as much. After having your D18 authentic, does it drive your desire for the original, or has Martin nailed it so well that it would suffice for the masses? Oh, it would suffice for the masses. It's an excellent guitar. I forget that it's not old. Like, it feels like an old guitar. I play it, and I play my country western a lot, and those two, man, yeah. So, Giovanni, what happened with the end of your Hudson Dalton TDM? I think I saw the story on Instagram. You sold it. Yes, I can't give all the details, but the general story is I sold it when my mother-in-law was sick in Nashville, and we needed to drop everything and get to Nashville to be with her. I sold it. It shipped. It went to someone who didn't want to keep it. They wanted to return it. When they returned it, they didn't use my return label, therefore they did not use my insurance. They shipped it on their own dime on FedEx, and they didn't insure it. FedEx broke it. When I got it, the headstock was completely detached in the case. We sent pictures, we did all the things, and the customer just went nuclear the whole time. And it eventually got messy. I got the broken guitar back. I got it fixed, and then I got rid of it. And there's some other moving parts with insurance. But I love that guitar. In the end, I sold it because I knew that the Martin was coming. And so I figured I wanted one high-powered dreadnought, and if I had to choose between a Martin Authentic or a Boutique, I would probably go with the Martin Authentic just because I could at that point last year. Do you prefer the Martin Reimagined series or the pre-reimagined, the unimagined series? I think the reimagined upgrade was remarkable. I think it's the best thing Martin has done in my lifetime for their guitars. The D18s are so freaking good after that. The 28s are excellent. The 35s are the only ones that it doesn't quite feel like it was as noticeable of an upgrade, because I think they stayed with Grovers, right? It'd be weird if a D35 had open gear tuners, because they never had that, other than the 12 strings. What are your thoughts on Thumbpicks? I don't do a Thumbpick. I do a long fingernail, which people love when I talk about this and show my long thumbnail. Yeah. I don't use Thumbpicks. Any thoughts on 50s Martin D21s? Want to scope one out locally. Currently running a Collings D1, excellent guitar. D21s are amazing. 21s are Brazilian rosewood, but they're less ornate. They're dressed down like a D18, so darker bindings, either tortoise or black. Really cool guitars. Traditionally undervalued. I missed one for $3,000 in 2014. It's cool. I only think about it most days. Yeah, most mahogany alternatives used aren't true mahogany species, but some are remarkably close in tone. Bada bing, bada boom. Absolutely. Or watched you, I don't know. Oh, I read, that's the next line. Watched your video on Larave's and then being underrated. Recently bought an OM style Larave and absolutely love it. Boom. So happy. I made that video to point out that they are so good. Obviously, that feels like that's pretty obvious. But yeah, occasionally I talk about things and I want to point out like, hey, these things are undervalued, to not that I own one or own a couple and want to like pump and dump. And sorry, I just watched a CoffeeZilla video this morning. But yeah. So I think that they're great guitars and I'm excited that you own one. What's your first guitar you ever owned? And do you still have it? No, the first guitar I ever owned, I shared with two of my older brothers. It was a Global classical guitar. It was like a 3/4 classical that my dad put steel strings on, and then the bridge popped off and it got rough. So I don't own that guitar. I have no idea where that thing went. It must have gone to, it must either like broke or just got thrown away. But within a couple months, my dad bought me an Alvarez RD8, and then I traded up into different Alvarez. And yeah, I quickly got bitten by the bug of like, buy, sell, get into the guitars that I want to get into. Also, do you have any experience with Douglas fir tops or Cypress back and sides? Cypress back and sides? No, I've only seen those in electric guitars. When I lived in South Louisiana, a lot of builders will use ash, swamp ash, or they'll use some kind of oak. And then they also do a lot of cypress, and I don't see the Douglas fir. That's more Pacific Northwest. Yeah. Thanks for the Eastman recommendation. Thoughts on vintage profile next? My Gibson L3 has a massive V-neck. Now I want to find something more comfortable. Most everything isn't going to have as like that specific or that intense of a V. The Eastmans have a V profile, but it's not crazy. It's a low V profile. Which guitars have the most profit? Vintage Martins, Brazilian Martins for me. I typically double my money. Yeah. And that's a funny, like, that's one of the comments I get where it's like, there's no way, you're lying. There's no way you bought, a Brazilian Martin for $4,000. I'm like, $4,000 was my, like, they talked me up. Like I've bought several of them at $3,000 to $3,500. That's typically where I want to be. Would you recommend between a Bourgeois Touchstone OM or a Larave? I don't know the Larave very well. I've owned a Touchstone OM. It's an exceptional guitar. I would still buy a Larave over that. Larave made in the US or Canada, depending on what era you get. And they just hold their value better. The Touchstone OMs, if money's if selling it is not in your future, the OM, the Bourgeois, is remarkably good. Yeah. Much of a difference sonically in the aged authentics versus the non-aged authentics from Martin? I don't have enough experience to say. How many vintage... I have many vintage Gibsons and Martins. Great guitars. But I keep going back to my 65 Guild D40. It's great. Hoboken Guilds have still good prices in comparison to vintage Gibsons and Martins. Yeah, I totally agree. Now, it's interesting. Is your 65, it might be X-Brace, might be fan braced. It might be. Like I just sold, I had a 71 or a 70 Guild D40. That is a great guitar. Yeah. Have you had any chance to play the Custom Shop Martin Super D? I did, and they were the loudest and boomiest guitars I've ever played. Interesting. I have not, and they are not still around. I think they've canceled those. Daniel texted me about these. And he's like, hey, did you see that the Super D got canceled? It turns out an even louder, even bigger Dreadnought is not the answer. Yeah. You missed your chance, Morgan. Daniel, Morgan, all three of us. We should have gotten Super Ds and made a Tenacious D cover band. All right, here are questions that a friend of mine said I should answer. And so here we go. Here's some other questions in the meantime. How long do you think you would survive a zombie apocalypse? Not long. I don't think I would survive very long. I have a heart condition and I have a defibrillator, and I would not be able to run very far. I'm kind of pudgy, and so I would be easy to be eaten. Okay, here's a story. When I was in college, my roommates made a survival plan, and it was the most hurtful thing they've ever said to me about myself. And I was like, hey, what is this? And they're like, oh, don't read that. I was like, what? And I started reading. I was like, this is hilarious. It was like, Matt climbs down the front desk, and Ernie does this because he's got a big truck. And then they're like, keep Jeremy around for at least 24 hours for morale playing guitar. But he quickly becomes a liability and is sacrificed to the horde. So, not long. A couple days. Here's another question. What do you think your last words would be? I'm pretty sure my last words will be, but first, my clean tone. Has someone caught you in the act of dancing in front of the mirror? So my first job, well, actually, I've worked since I was 14. I've always had a job. But I was working at a medical research lab, and it was a very boring job. I worked by myself. I would go into work. I would receive shipments from mostly like medical research labs. And we would have to then like break out the studies, buy all the paperwork and the wet tissue samples and the blocks and the slides, and then put it in the cardboard boxes. I'd memorize 18-digit numbers and then put stuff onto shelves. And yep, did that. And the big thing that happened was every day I would come in, I would listen to Michael Jackson's #1 hits, and I would dance for probably 30 minutes every day. I would dance. I would just be in the moment. And my boss came by one day, and he was like, hey man, like how's your day going? And he said something that revealed my shame. He was like, hey man, like you're getting a lot done today. No dance break this morning. I was like, what? He was like, dude, we got cameras. I see you dance every day. Mostly, like, you're not working, you're just dancing. And I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, so I danced a lot in front of a mirror by myself. And yeah. Why are Yamahas underrated? They're not. They're doing the best they've ever done right now. Yeah. Is the difference between Eastman and Bourgeois touchstone the wood coming from Bourgeois in the final setup in Maine? Curious to see how much increase. Okay, as someone, I've now owned 2 touchstones. Had the Country Boy. Did I? No, I didn't get to keep the Country Boy, but I got to keep the Dread, the Vintage D Dread, and it's great. So, comparing that to like an E20D or the Eastman stuff, they're still better. They're not a Bourgeois. They're pretty far from a Bourgeois, but they're also pretty far from an Eastman. The tops are thinner. I think Eastman, and they just laminate the sound holes, but even the tops themselves are just thicker, and they're overbuilt. They're made to not have any warranty issues. So yeah, I would still stick with, I'd go with the Bourgeois. Okay, let's see. How can I get over stage fright for open mics? Have you ever dealt with this before? I have. I'm not very good at open mics. I find I get really nervous when I'm singing into a microphone, and my guitar playing goes down. I don't have stage fright per se. I've gotten over that. Okay. Probably the biggest thing with stage fright is you got to love yourself, or at least respect or enjoy the fact that you are making music, that you're singing, that you're creating in the world. So find people that you like. Do the people that love and trust you and would tell you the actual truth, do they say you're a good singer and that you're a good guitar player, or you're at least passable? Good. Okay. If that's true, learn to not give two shits what people think of you in the world. People's words do not get to change your perception of yourself. That's a big, that has come more from me through YouTube. Like when people say like, if you're getting hecklers, this is a whole different strategy. If you're getting hecklers, easiest thing is just agree with them and then say, okay, so what? Like, you're not a very good singer. You're like, yeah, I'm not a very good singer, but I love doing it. And it really takes the wind out of people's sails. So, yeah. Learn to not give two shits what people think of you or your performance. Hopefully that's helpful. Is it because you're on YouTube that we have to ask you? Is it because you're on YouTube that we like to ask you all these questions? Probably. Like I'm just a regular guy that really likes guitars, and I'm wrong about a whole lot of stuff. So this advice is worth exactly what you're paying for it. Close your eyes, Christian. Okay, that's good advice too. Yeah, close your eyes. Remember the words of people that love you and that say that they're proud of you. More than just like your mom and your girlfriend or your wife, but like get to your friends. Like, so for me, that was a big shift. Like hearing people say they like my voice was a huge thing, because that's my biggest insecurity is my voice. I keep a pocket knife right in my right pocket. What? I keep a pocket knife in my front right pocket. It's not been an issue yet for scratching the finish of my guitars. Do you carry anything? Do you have any big finish scratches stories? Yes, I used to wear big goofy belt buckles. I thought they were hilarious. And then my electric guitar got a big ding in the back of it. I carry a box cutter knife at the guitar shop, and I've just moved it to my left pocket so it doesn't scratch guitars. It's weird. I'm left-handed, but I still use it with my right hand. But I've just moved stuff away from my right pocket. I've had a couple. It's not the end of the world, but they're down real low on the back of an acoustic guitar. Let's see. I've been afraid of buying these Bourgeois touchstones, but you say they're a good step above the Eastmans, which I love, is nice to hear. I do agree on full Bourgeois is easy. It's a huge, I just recently kind of honestly admitted they are a super far cry from like real Bourgeois. I know that Bourgeois doesn't like me saying that, but I don't work for Bourgeois. We're friends. But yeah, so they're a pretty big difference. And I think it's harder for people that own Bourgeois, like the old real Bourgeois, and then seeing this. It's a problem. But it is a huge step up for Eastman. I think that Eastman guitars have benefited more from owning Bourgeois than Bourgeois has benefited from being owned by Eastman. Because I think a lot of things are now kind of getting filtered into the Eastman stuff. Jeremy, I do a lot of tube-amp repairs and building as well. I'm starting to do this as a second job. Any recommendations are greatly appreciated. I'm looking to start doing this as a second job. Ooh, that's good. A lot of things change when you move from passion to job. I think chasing your passion is mostly bad advice. A phrase that a mentor always told me is that if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So if you start working through like, okay, how many amp repairs do I need to do to cover half of what I'm making at another job? Or for it to at least pay for itself and to pay myself a reasonable amount per hour by the time you shake it all out. Because if it works out like, well, I've got to do 30 hours a week, passion will subsidize. Your passion will be the bank account from which you subsidize doing the rest, and you'll be bitter and not enjoy amp repair. So I would say if you're in a major city, just go into guitar shops and saying, do you do these repairs? If not, who do you recommend? Can I get in on that? If you can get into where, like, so for us, we get a discount on people's service and we kind of white label it. So for bigger repairs, Danny Dollinger does our thing, and then we make a small percentage. But it's enough that it makes sense for us to get things done. Let's see. Yeah, invite the hecklers on stage to take your place. Yeah, see how that goes. Doing an open mic on Sunday. I close my eyes and I play like I'm at home. Interesting. Yeah, that must be... if I close my eyes, that's good. I'm terrible at words. If I see people, I forget all the words. Yeah. One example of things you're wrong on. Acoustics are better. Whatever. Yeah. Said all I need to say on that. Did Eastman start using Bourgeois tonewood since the merger? The tonewoods on Eastman today are exceptional, and it wasn't always that way. Their buying power really went up. Because I think the guys who had their finger on the pulse of like the coolest tonewoods, like the guys at Bourgeois, all of a sudden got a much bigger checkbook behind them. Eastman is much bigger than, like, they have such deep pockets. The old saying was to just imagine the audience is all naked. Just make sure you're sitting down, or you can just... Hey, Jeremy, looking for my first acoustic right now. I'm between an old Yamaha FG 180. $600? No. Don't do that. Don't buy an FG5 either. Get an FG3 for $800, or the AC1s are good, or an Eastman, like an E1. I mean, you could get a much better guitar. I would not, gosh. Don't pay $600 for an FG 180. It's going to have really high action. It's going to be hard to play. This is not the right first guitar. You need a guitar that is easy to play and sounds good. You do not need a guitar that sounds great and plays hard. That's what the old red labels are. Gosh. I went to my first open mic a month ago. Forgot lyrics immediately after the first verse. Everyone there was super supportive. Just kept going and got over the nerves. That's great. I love that. Just started playing standing at bus stops. Ukulele. That's awesome. I realized I play seated at home, and standing at an open mic was a very different vibe for me. That's a really good point. I think it's important to practice how you're going to play. It's pretty boring to watch someone sit down and play guitar. I'm the same way. I'm a better player sitting down. So, yeah. If looking for a 335 style Eastman's, do you think it's better to get one from recent years or try and get one from back when they were using nitro? That's a good point. Hardware is better now. Pickups are better now. Nitro is better on the old ones. I just got the 486. That's a $18.99 is the retail on that. It really is a good sounding guitar. I still have to fight the itch to, like, I want to put different pickups in it. But it's got, like, they're just a little spicy. And I'm just to where I want more mellow, more chill. So anyway, cool. Let me run through. I have a couple more of these, like, what's the best guitar movie? To me, I think probably the best guitar movie is Crossroads with Britney Spears. That one's just so good. No, the one without Britney Spears. The one that's Steve Vai and Ralph Macchio. That was the first one that I fell in love with, and it's very cool. 70s telly, and then like kind of shreddy Steve Vai, Soul to the Devil, that whole story. It's a cool, because it's also a good movie. It's a good story, and then it also has like believable guitar. What's the worst guitar movie? There are a whole bunch. I never made it through August Rush. I couldn't do it. I tried 3 different times, and it's just so floppy fake guitar playing that's not choreographed, does not look real. So yeah, that one stinks. And here's the last question: What color would you like if you had to eat a crayon straight out of the box? I mean, like that kind of light blue, like a blue raspberry looking one. I know it's not gonna taste right, but man, just seems right to me, you know? All right. Oh, that's a good one. Come on, Coco is the greatest guitar movie of all time. That's true. That's a good one. How to get a tiny spot of mold off of my acoustic. It's on the guitar body near the sound hole. Is it under the finish? Yeah, if it's under the finish. Over the finish, you could use a whole bunch of things. I would start with just like easy guitar polish or naphtha. That's probably the best one. Lighter fluid. That's the best one. Cool. Hey, thanks for hanging out. There is merch in the shop. Make sure you like this video. I got to do all the YouTube stuff. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. It's I had my first video pass 1 million views this week. It's Daniel and a couple guys. And what's interesting is, I mean, that video is disproportionate to other videos. There are a lot of 2,000 and 3,000 view videos on my channel, which I'm thankful for every video and every view. But 89% of people watching my YouTube videos are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, think about it. It costs you nothing. And it does mean a lot to me. So thanks for everything. And yes, so come hang and at the guitar shop if you're in Virginia. And yeah, subscribe. Buy shirts and merch. Check out the shop. All right, thanks everybody. I'll see you later.